Here we go. All right. We're back with another Talking Palettes. I'm your host, Daniel Crosier, and I'm here with the fabulous and very talented Moe Gram. Yeah.
Hi.
Moe, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be a nerd with you.
Oh, excellent. I always love the idea of being able to nerd out with fellow artists. I think
Yeah.
I think we're a fun breed.
Yeah, well, we're also the only people who like to watch paint dry, so.
True.
Everybody else talks about it like it's a bad thing, and I'm like, but so much changes.
Yeah. It's chemistry. It's chemistry right in front of you. I mean, it's
totally.
It's amazing the science that has to go into art and as well as the engineering. And nobody really expresses it outwardly anyway.
No, and like, I think that's the hill that I'm going to end up dying on. I'm also an arts educator. I'm not just an artist. So I teach art at a school. And one of my big battles right now is that oftentimes the arts gets taken out of schools first. Not that that's happening at my school, but like I've been trying to beat the horse of like the arts are so cross-curricular. Right. I mean, between writing artist statements and like the idea of like, we're talking about like math and the science and just like the study, art history, like there's just, it's so cross-curricular. I have to do so much algebra.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like thinking about like, okay, so I need it to fit into this on this gallery wall, but I only have this much board. Like, what is X? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I got to figure it out.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Is it okay if I say the F word?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's my favorite word.
Excellent. I have no filter on this, so this is going to go on to social media anyway.
Great. Okay, good. Just checking.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that is a topic that Oh, the neighbor's dog. Has been coming up a lot more, with art education kind of being exited out of some of these schools, in favor of, just straightforward math and writing and reading, which is all necessary too. But without that art, you're losing the aspect for creative problem solving.
Yes, totally. And I also think about like, you're losing the aspect of like, cause you know that kid who just like got straight A's, but they had no common sense whatsoever. And then they get into college and everything is hard and confusing.
Right.
I think about that. And I like to think of the arts as an opportunity to apply all of those skills. And there's something to be said for thinking of something in concept in the abstract, creating a plan, and then executing that plan, having a finished product, and being able to reflect on that entire process.
Yeah.
And then decide, what did I get from this? Where did I land? And then how do I want to move forward in the future?
I think you almost described like the scientific method.
And then it becomes a scientific method, and then we prove our point.
Right. Well, and you furthermore too, it's like with this idea of like art being so expendable. I'm like, motherfucker, your entire world is designed and engineered. It took creative people, it took artists, it took engineers, it took designers. You
tell them.
Chemists, you name it. All of those disciplines intermingle to create your world, to give you culture, and you're welcome.
Yeah, and whether you liked the work or not, you're a better person because you took the time to just look at it.
Yeah.
You took the time. Congrats, you've grown.
Right. Hopefully next time they can start having a conversation about it.
And that's the baby steps.
Yeah. And even if you were to look at something like a Rothko or something and say it's like, well, I don't like it. Okay. Now articulate why.
That's so difficult for people to do, though.
It is incredibly difficult. But
because they want to see like the wolf running through the forest. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And at the same time, cliched, yes, but that's fine too.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I too want to see a wolf running through there, but
that'd
a
be
real
really cool. Just
wolf.
not like towards me, you know, just running by
Right, right.
completely unaware.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I don't know. I'm rubbing myself in whatever does not taste attractive to it.
I know. Shit, or you don't like shit, right? Because that's
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
guys
doing.
say shit, right? Right? Oh, this is the wrong kind of shit.
This is.
Well, shit.
Oh, you do like this shit. Oh shit, I gotta go. Sorry.
so,
Tell my mom I love her.
so Mo, where do you come from? How did you get into arts?
Oh boy. What's funny about that question is I just went down memory lane on my Instagram.
Oh,
And so I like went through deep into my archives and found all these images of me from college. So I actually grew up in Southern California,
hmm.
and my mom lived in Bakersfield and my dad lived in San Bernardino. They had me when they were 15.
Oh, wow.
I was like a total happy accident. They Bob Rossed me so hard. And they're not mad about it now, you know?
Yeah.
So I lived most of my life in Bakersfield and kind of bounced back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduated from high school, I wanted to study abroad, and to be able to do that financially, the best choice was for me to stay home and go to school. And
Oh,
so I went to school at California State University, Bakersfield, got my degree in I got a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art, specifically painting, with a minor in cultural studies because I studied abroad in Florence, Italy.
wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh, it was such a magical time, especially as an artist, because Florence is such a like
Yeah.
the arts are like this divine thing that existed. And so like to be an artist in Florence, you feel so like celebrated, you know.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe that was just me feeling very romantic at that time and just being completely in awe of everything. But then I moved home, and then I graduated 2 years later in 2014, and then moved here because my dad actually went to school in Gunnison, dropped out because partying was so much more fun, and moved to Denver. So when I graduated, I always said I wanted to like come check out Denver and see if I could make a home there, and like, ta-da.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah, now I love it, and I feel like should have been born here, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have you.
Thanks. I'm glad you think so. Not everybody loves a transplant around here, so.
They're just not people.
Yeah, like sorry guys.
So, and you're working on a project with Robin. Looks like behind you, your backdrop.
Yeah, that's 2/3 of it. The rest of it is on the floor right now because not everything can be done vertically, you know?
Yeah.
So I poured some paint last night on it, which is a lot of fun. And it's all dry now. And so after we talk, I get to dive in.
Nice. Get back to it, huh?
Exactly.
There's we were talking about palettes and colors earlier. And you always have a really bright and exuberant color. Can we go back down and talk about how you choose the colors again?
Yes, I just pick them all.
Nice.
I mean, I love color, and I mean, I guess, and I joke and say that I just love them all and I'll just throw them in there, but I think there is a little more intentionality to it, in the sense that the topics that I like to discuss in my work are oftentimes very dark and nuanced. And so I only painted in primaries in college. Don't ask me why. It was just like a terrible habit. My understanding of color was very limited, and so then I switched to only painting in black and white and only doing black and white works.
Wow.
But then I learned people don't always want to buy black and white artwork. Black and white artwork is sometimes really hard to sell for some reason. And so I challenged myself to think about color more intentionally. And so I started watching 90s cartoons, specifically like Nickelodeon cartoons,
Okay.
and started studying those shapes and those color palettes and the way that they would block color. Because I also would make really muddy paintings. I would just paint in primaries, and then my colors they would become very like dulled and muted, and they weren't ever like the vibrancy that I wanted to see from the colors. So when I started studying cartoons, I felt like the way that they were color blocking really allowed those colors to stand out, and like the way that they use shapes and lines to emphasize different ideas. And so then I did these like very grandiose landscapes of cartoon characters that were like space fillers in the background, you know?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and like they're not significant to the plot at all. They're just like these innocent bystanders in the scene, and I would highlight them, and I called that whole series the extras.
Okay.
It was really, yeah, and they're just like these gigantic like portrait paintings that are done in oil, but it's like cartoon characters, you know? And so then that's kind of how we landed at the color palette that you see from me now. Like that's kind of how we ended up here. But and part of it too comes from like, I want the serious topics to be approachable. So that was the other thing. The black and white drawings, they were serious and they were in black and white. So it was very like hard and in your face. And that's like asking a lot for people to grapple with. And so then kind of going back in the opposite direction where nothing was serious and it's just cartoons. And now I'm like somewhere in the middle where we have all the colors, all the things, but the conversations still have a very heavy weight to them.
Okay. What can I ask? What kind of topics you're dealing with now?
Well, in earlier in 2000 or later in the year of 2019, so in October, I had a solo exhibition at Alto Gallery called A Gentle Pause, and that show in large part was talking about what it means to process information while you are to process information, but also specifically processing trauma at a time when you're outwardly expected to be in a positive space. And it's funny, as we say that, we're dealing with a very intense time in America right now. And so like this is a good example of like processing something that is very deep-seated and dark and heavy, while on the exterior presenting yourself as like collected and together and totally fine. And then presentable and approachable to people. So like that's a very heavy conversation to have, but when at face value, when you walk into this space, you feel very happy and you're like, oh, everything's great. And then you dive in and you start to see some of the different things and you start to look at the details. Slowly that starts to go away.
Wow, that is a wonderful topic to bring up, because that's something even now, you know, people are having to like you said, are having to deal with so much, whether it's the current protesting, or the stay-at-home orders with the coronavirus. There's just a compound of so many things to have to process, and so even now, like, people are compartmentalizing, and sometimes that stuff doesn't get addressed.
No, and then so in the exhibit, I had a series of file folders in like a white box, and you open up the different files, and they're old medical files. I found them at a thrift store, but then you open it up, and then there's like all of these different scripts and documents and words and like copies of paper, and I did that to kind of create this idea of the way that we compartmentalize and store information for later processing, you know, or like reflection. And so like wanting to create this idea of like, what does it look like for human beings to just like grab all of their feelings, throw it in a file, and stick a sticky note like, I'll come back to that.
Wow, that's really sophisticated. Yeah, that also brings to mind if you got those files too. Like,
I do, actually.
If I'm just saying, like at your show, if you have a group setting too, like reading those out loud. I mean, granted, there's somebody else's trauma, but you know, what a way to kind of vocalize and
Oh, did I lose
share
you?
that. Yeah. But, oh, did you freeze? Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. I think we lost you, Mo. Oh, no. I think we lost Mo. So hopefully, there you
You're
are.
back. Okay.
You're back. Yay.
Yay.
We didn't quite lose you. We got you freeze framed for a while. So.
Okay, good, good.
Oh, Wi-Fi.
I know. Corona.
Yeah, you're both, you know, the connection to the outside world and the bane of our existence.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I missed most of what you said.
Oh, I was just thinking that it'd be, and you might have done this, but at the gallery show, it'd be interesting to take out those files and read them to the public.
Oh, see, and I never actually did that. And when we installed it, my fear was that people would view those pieces as like an art object and just not touch it at all.
Oh, okay.
And what was really magical for me to see as a creative, you know, back in that like that reflection phase, you know, the work's done and people are interacting with it. So like,
Yeah.
now what, right? You like
Right.
can't help but be a freaking psycho staring at everybody. But people were actually looking through the files and like reading the text and like flipping through and then sharing and talking about how other people's were different from the other person's and like comparing and contrasting and trying to piece together narratives. And it was really cool. I really enjoyed that. But the idea that I would read them, I haven't thought about. And actually, what I did do is, even though I didn't read them out loud, I had a series of audio that I collaborated on with Carlita Ann. She's an amazing vocalist and producer. So Carlita Ann, you should totally look her up on Spotify. She's a badass. But she produced the sounds and like made all these edits to me speaking and recording my thoughts as I was processing traumatic situations with family.
Oh, wow.
And so like I would basically just sit in my car, and every time and what started it was like I would process information, and I would basically just be like yelling by myself in my car, trying to get my ideas out of my head. I'm very much a verbal processor. Yeah. And so, and like recounting informations and like trying to figure out what I'm feeling and why. And I realized like those streams of consciousness are never available to people. And so what would it be like for somebody to hear me in a stream of consciousness and like hear exactly what it sounds like in my mind? And so then I gave all of that audio it was like 20 hours of audio, and I gave it to Carlita, and she edited it and like pieced together and produced the background music and melodies to it. It was super, super cool. And so then you could sit in front of one of the installations in the show, and you could put headphones on and hear that audio as it was, and like sit in this installation. So as the audio is playing, it kind of helps to tell the story of the files in the front.
Wow, that is absolutely wonderful. Man, that I could not fathom what that process personally, you know, meant to you. I mean, that's 20 hours is an amazing amount of, yeah. You probably felt really good after all that too.
Yeah, it was nice. It was like, oh wow, you know, because it's something about like, even like, you know, when you call your friend and you're just like, guess what annoying thing happened to me today. Right. It's like that sense of validation for somebody, like, yeah, that was annoying. Yeah. Like, thanks, you know. Yeah. And it was like kind of it was synonymous to like that, to feeling that way.
Wow. It's and then to be able to share it too with an intimate setting with essentially strangers, you know.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, you know, when you're working on a painting, you're putting your heart and soul on there. So, you know, what's to say that it's no different?
Right. I was nervous. I was terrified, because it is very vulnerable. And I think for a while I would hide behind abstract paintings because I thought I didn't want to be vulnerable, you know. And I think as I get older and as I recognize, one, that I'm doing something that I truly love, and I've had enough people tell me that I should keep making artwork. So it's like, if I'm going to do it, and if that is something that I'm going to act out, then how do I make sure that what people are seeing from me is more of an authentic version of myself?
Right. I think that's that's going to be going to have to be an ongoing conversation for anybody.
For any artist, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because especially with today the oversaturation of media, um, you know, it feels like image and even storytelling is hijacked to the point where it can be emotional manipulation instead of something authentic. So when
Yeah.
I hear what you're doing, it's kudos
Thanks.
for attempting that. I'm usually just trying to make pretty pictures and dress up as a bunny apparently.
Oh, but I love the way that you create, though. Oh, the things you do with lines. You're so patient. You're
Thanks.
just so incredibly patient, like a Buddhist monk. I don't have it in me.
It's fun. It really doesn't, for me, I don't feel it requires a lot of patience.
Oh,
If I'm sitting there on a piece of wood or drawing a page, I can just lose myself. It becomes a meditation. And nowadays, I've got a lot more distractions since I'm mostly home.
right.
I'll put on Rick and Morty and sit there and illustrate my Stanley Kaiju, kids comic and stuff. And that's fun, just as long as none of the graphic stuff gets into my comic. But my girlfriend writes that project, but it's different when I'm like painting, a mural. It goes so much faster because I can scale up the tools,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still a big. Yeah, I think every project for me is a learning curve. I think we were talking about that earlier about kind of being generalized and diversified in order to work. And I think every project is a new project, and it'll have its own challenges. And how do I overcome that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you were mentioning too earlier about having to bring in like algebra to figure out space equations.
Damn it, we're building rockets around here, okay?
Right, as I think you should.
Yeah, we're flying to the moon, baby. We're
That's
going.
right. Why should we leave that to just Elon Musk? I mean,
Screw
one,
that
nobody
guy.
wants to listen to his iTunes. Fuck that. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
so he
boring.
gives us the Tesla, now he gotta suck his wiener? No
Yeah,
way!
yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, like we were talking earlier, it's art it's chemistry, it's math, it's engineering, it's design. It deploys all these different you know uh, skills and tasks that need to get done. Depending on
Yeah.
what the project is. I mean, painting is pure chemistry. Let me close this window. I'm hearing that dog.
Oh my goodness, my whole entire neighborhood is like a doggy kingdom, and they just bark at all hours of the day. I'm
Oh
surprised
no.
they're being so kind right now. That was a gigantic bumblebee I wasn't ready for.
Oh, there's a bump. I was gonna say that's a moth, but
It
wow.
was a big, chunky bumblebee.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt the bumblebee because we need him, but I'm like,
You're in the
too
wrong area.
close.
Didn't you expect the sign?
Yeah, and my big fear is that I get a bunch of bees in my fro, and then I end up having a scary time.
Oh no.
So I'm like very conscious of the fro, you know.
Did you have something like that happen to you as a kid or something?
Um, no, but I can like I feel like if I were a bee, this would be a comfy place to hang out.
Okay, okay.
You
That's
know, just
yeah. I've never heard of that. I've had spiders crawl across my face, and that
oh
freaked me out.
no.
Yeah. that wasn't fun. Um, I think I've had a mouse crawl across my feet when I was sleeping once. That wasn't fun.
My cat brought me a mouse once, and I was not excited about it.
Oh,
He was
gee.
like, "Look, it's still alive," and this mouse is like crawling everywhere.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, no.
yeah, yeah. In high school, I would take care of the reptiles in the science lab. So we had like an 8-foot boa constrictor that I would take care of. I had to go get the rats, and you can't feed them a dead rat, but you don't want them to be in full, all of their faculties either. So I felt so bad, and I bonk them over the head. I'm like, fucking eat that goddamn rat fast. Because I don't like the idea of like, and I'm an old farm boy, and I get squeamish around shit like that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a couple times where it's like, I'm not interested. It's like, no, eat it. Poor
I
thing.
can't just stare at it.
Right, right. So that
Oh
was
no.
incredibly off-putting, and we had an
So,
evil monitor lizard in there too. He was just always in a nasty disposition. So
oh, gross. Okay, do you have nightmares about killing rats now? Like, what is your relationship with rats as in like years later?
not with rats so much. I still have that. Yeah, other than for them being food for much cooler animals. I don't really mind or have in any type of uh, I guess I don't know, shoot, I'm missing the word here. Empathy, so to
Mm.
speak. But you show me a squirrel, and like I've had to put out a squirrel because it was sick and it was
Oh,
running around and in circles. It looked like somebody might have poisoned it or something. I don't know. And so
oh man.
I put that thing down, and I was just like, I don't want you to suffer anymore. And we've got a lot of bunnies out here, so I'm just like, oh. But then you look around and it's like, oh my God, all these bunnies are sick because they got black tumors growing on the backs of their heads.
Oh
Oh
no.
God. So I see all this happiness, and then I look a little closer, and I'm like, oh no, you're
See?
ill.
See, and like it's a real thing. Like stuff is beautiful and cheerful at first, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, not
And
as
then
much.
yeah, we got a bunch of like garter snakes in the area too. So whenever I go outside, I find and it's like, oh, see, you guys are so nice and simple. There's nothing wrong with you guys. You're just a long muscle. So
Yeah.
it's like go about, please eat grasshoppers and stuff and whatever
Yeah,
else.
thanks guys.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, animals. Animals are cool.
I love animals. My cat, I'm infatuated by him. He's just got the cutest nose and just the sweetest little white paws. He's perfect.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm allergic to dogs and cats.
Oh, no. Well, at least you have cute bunnies outside.
Yeah, they're everything's great at a distance. It's the only things I can touch seem to have scales or gills. So yeah. But yeah, so man, back to the art stuff.
Oh, yeah. The reason we're here.
Yeah, the reason we're here. It's all fun.
It is.
In some way it relates to itself.
Uh-huh.
With the animals too. I mean, that's part of the reason why we've got the COVID stuff is, man encroaching into new territories and exposing, new illnesses that run rampant, in the human species. So, and all that attributes to, climate change too. With with that, you being so topical with, dealing and coping with trauma. I mean, it seems to me that politics, and unfortunately, like climate change, has now been politicized for the last
Right.
20, 30 years.
Which is so odd to me, but we don't have to get into that.
Sure. But I would think too that, like the way, the topics of your painting, yeah, it seems like some kind of, therapy. Is that something you also, teach during art class?
Um, with my kids, I don't, because I'm not a therapist. I've thought about potentially going to school and thinking about doing like an art therapy,
Oh, okay.
because I do think that there's an element of the arts that can be used to help people process their feelings and emotions. I happen to be doing that, but I think of myself as a creative as like more so being similar to a writer. They tell the advice that they give writers is write what you know.
Yeah.
And so what I know is my existence, and what people have been seeing from me more recently are very intimate views on my personal experience.
Mhm.
And but I do a lot of like identity building, because I
Mhm.
think for younger kids, especially because I teach middle school, so sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, a lot of kids coming out of elementary school, they've been like kind of coddled and handheld, and now they're transitioning into becoming young adults, but
Yeah.
they still are kind of like children, but they have mustaches, and like they're looking more and more like grown humans.
Yeah.
But they like play tag. So it's like, you have a mustache, but you play tag. So like, I'm not buying it. Um, you know, so, but when you're in that transition, when you're in middle school, there's a lot of like lack of trust in what is inside of you.
Mm.
There's like, cause all you know is like this exterior world, and everything that you know about the world has been dependent on what people have given you or what you've been told. And so in middle school, even though it's not specifically therapy, if somebody studied my class, I wonder if they would call it therapeutic. But I very much start to have them decide what they care about.
Mm.
Why does this matter to you? If you see this, is it wrong?
Yeah.
But like, why do you feel that way? Okay, so if you were going to express that in a visual language, what does that look like? And then leave a lot of the problem solving up to them. Their first couple projects look like shit, but it's fine. I know it's going to happen. But by the end, though, you start to see these very beautiful, clear, concise thoughts where
Mhm.
like it's their opinion, and like they arrived at that destination themselves. And so, it's not therapy, but I think like there's aspects of that that can be really good mentally for them.
Well, that sounds like the beginnings of critical thinking, just
Yes.
asking those questions and giving them the tools, you know, to do that. So
Right.
that's wonderful. I think that's, you know, that'll help them lot more in the long run, even if they, choose not to, create art or something, but hopefully they take those life lessons and apply it to their everyday. It's like, well, why does this feel like shit? Because I've got a nail through my foot. Well, I should probably do something about it.
You should probably, what am I going to do? Well, there's Google, there's
Yeah.
hotlines, like here's all these tools. Because like, and I would think about it, it's like, okay, why are the arts important? Why am I going to do this job? Why, like, where is the value in my work other than like, we're just going to melt crayons together and like, we're going to bead some fucking noodles and call this an art class. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, if we're going to be here, we're going to learn some shit. So what are we learning? And then I thought about how many general managers I had that had zero critical thinking skills. And so then the kids are like, so in my class, when the kids, I have a couple of kids every year, somebody decides that it's the time to ask, well, like, what is even the point? Like, what do the
Yeah.
arts matter? And I tell them all the time, I said, this isn't just an arts class. This is a life skills class.
Nice. I like
You're
that.
learning life skills and how to be critical thinkers who can like do your own research and think on your own and
Wow.
like function. Project management.
Wow. Yeah. No, very much so. And project management. There's the budgetary aspect of time and resources, and
Mm-hmm.
then and then you can apply it also to. Oh my God, the art world is.
So many things, right?
Yeah, the art world's way more versatile than I was even thinking.
So much. And then when I hear, and people are always like, well, then we do like a functional items. All my 7th graders, they have to create their own brand and they have to develop a product line.
Okay.
And it's my introduction to sculpture and like 3-dimensional works, you know. And if we make it functional, it's much easier for them to like put it together.
Yeah.
But you know, the question's like, what do people need? Like, why do people need those things? And I tell them, I'm like, so many of your families, if you wanted to say that you were going to go to art school, would be like, ugh, and like roll their eyes.
Right.
But literally any functional item was designed by a creative.
Yes.
Any functional item.
Yep.
Like some creative dude was like, yeah, we need these things, right?
Right.
So,
you know, got clamps. Well, there's a little sculpture I did, but
you know,
that's the point. Yeah.
Shit, paper.
Right.
Like cell phones. So.
Yeah, you had the engineers come in, figure out the programming, design the hardware, and then you had an art designer come in and design, to see how it was going to look and feel, and how.
Yeah,
So,
and then they
like
have to problem solve. Yeah, like what kind of materials are going to be good for this? Learning how to collaborate in teams and give constructive feedback.
Yes.
We do all of it in Miss Graham's art class.
I want to take Miss Graham's art class.
Come on! Yes! You'll be the oldest one there, but I promise we'll have fun.
It's okay. Dan likes to finger paint. Oh, well, that does give me some ideas too. Because I'll for my niece and nephews, I'll do an online drawing class for them on Fridays, and
oh, that's fun.
so yeah, I've showed them how to draw things and break everything down to their basic shapes and stuff, and so now I think I'll ask them. It's like, what kind of shape is this? And so thank you for giving me that suggestion.
Yeah, and it's fun because like you start to see the bell go off. You start to see them have these moments of like, huh, I did that. I did think all by myself. You know, like it's their posture changes and also it makes, and part of it is strategic. Like it makes my life a lot easier because I don't have to figure out what they're going to do. That's their job. I just help guide them through that process of deciding their why. And like, because I look back and I wish more people had asked me, well, why do you feel that way?
Right.
Like, as a kid, I look back like all the way through high school, I don't remember being challenged in my thinking as much.
No. You're forcing me to reflect, and I can't think of a moment, like that other than like in math, it's like, how do you get from point A to point B? It's like, you can do it this way, you can do it that way. There's a couple different ways to actually do math.
Right.
Now you see on like TV shows, it's like, how did they change math? Math is math. It's like, oh no, it's like art. There's so many different approaches. It just depends on how you think about it, how you map it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like with the scientific method, you have that period of, after you publish your results, you have a period of peer review, and see if anybody can reproduce those findings and comment on them. Do you ever have a time with your students, and we can open this up to your peers too, where you sit and have critique sessions?
Yeah. So like, first I'll answer it for the kids. Like for the kids, in 6th grade, they only critique themselves, and they do it silently. So they critique their own work they have their painting by them, because all my kids at the end of their project, they always write an artist statement, and then they do their critique. And so in their critique, it asks a series of questions like, what did you do well? What would you do different? Why do you feel that way? Is there anything in your work that you think that you should have emphasized, like, and because then we talk about like elements of art, and we talk about principles of design, and like what principles of design did you pick, and like why did you use those, would you do that again? So like really making them think intentionally about the creative process and what they did to get from point A to point B, right? So because we always follow the 4 steps of the creative process. First you observe, then you reflect on your observations, then you make a plan, and then you create your work. And so so we follow that every single time.
Nice.
And so then their critique goes from there. 7th grade, they critique themselves the same way they would in 6th grade, but then they also critique 2 other people's artwork, but they only do it silently on their paper. So they don't actually.
Oh shoot. We lost Moe again. Moe, everybody think happy thoughts and bring Moe back. Bring Moe back. Bring Moe back. Bring Moe back. Oh no, come on. Oh shoot. Well, at least we've got an intense still life, so to speak, this screenshot. So we are, let me see if I can bring her back. Okay. Let's give it a second. Okay. See if we can get her to come back, and hopefully we can kind of wrap things up for her, because I know she's got to get back to work here pretty soon. So everybody out there in La La Land, yeah, hang on. We're having some technical difficulties. I think this talk with Moe has been incredibly insightful for me. I'm now thinking about working with my niece and nephews, and asking them critical questions, get them to think, not only in their head and but outwardly and interacting with folks. So let's see. Oh, looks like hopefully she'll jump back in. I think I might have her cell phone. Let's see. Oh, the interwebs, aren't they just amazing? Yeah, during this time of coronavirus and the certain oh, here we go. Just texting her that we lost connection. Let's see if she'll send another invite. Hopefully this is still her phone number. Anyway, we'll give it a little bit, but okay, she's trying now. Yep, right phone number. Oh, yeah, it's been a while since we've connected over the cellular phone, which most of you kids use to text and do your Instagramming on. I'm an old fogey. Bear with me. Oh, geez. Oh, the fun of it. Anyway, yeah, there goes my hairline. Yeah, let's see. Oh, there she is. Here she goes. And we are back with Moe.
Okay, we did it.
All right. So, sorry, can you wrap up that thought?
Yeah, I'll start it over.
Okay.
Are you recording already?
Still recording. Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying, and then come seventh grade, in seventh grade, I have them critique themselves, normally like they would in sixth grade, and then they have to critique two other people, but they do it silently. So they're just practicing giving the constructive criticism, but they're not like fumbling at their feedback and then hurting somebody else's feelings, you know?
Yeah.
So they're like critiquing the work and they're critiquing what they're seeing, but they're doing it privately on their own paper. And then in the eighth grade, they critique themselves. And then from there, they openly, in front of the whole entire class, critique each other's artwork as like a whole entire group. And then I just facilitate that classroom discussion.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, totally having critiques. And then, the other thing that I was going to mention was when myself and Odessa Nomadic, we used to host creatives at Roundish Tables. And that was a series of roundtable discussions that we did. It was a 3-season series, which we wrapped up at the end of 2019. And so that's a project that is all done. But we would host critiques for creatives a couple of times a year. And that was also really fun because creatives would bring their work and then we would just kind of share about it and like talk it through.
Nice. That's absolutely wonderful. I think that's something that, for artists outside of art school, they don't get a lot of.
Right, for sure. Which is why we did it, because we were missing it ourselves and we knew that we couldn't have been the only ones.
Right. That's great. Hey, before we lose you again,
yeah.
Just when is your show coming up at the Arvada Center?
Yeah, so that's going to open on July 2nd, and then that'll be up all the way through November. Arvada Center hasn't released the way that people are going to be able to view the show, but my understanding it'll most likely be a limited amount of people in the building at a time, and I'm almost positive masks will be required.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's good.
So that's July 2nd. It'll open, and then we'll have Babe Walls is going to be at we'll be in like the first couple of weeks of August.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about Babe Walls?
Yeah, so Babe Walls was started out of a group of women artists wanting to create a mural festival celebrating women and non-binary artists. And so that is going to happen at the beginning of August. We were supposed to do it in May, but Corona.
Yeah, right. No, everything kind of gets pushed back.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys are still able to do it. I think mural painting is one of those things that you can do in a public setting, but isolated.
Totally. And you have a gas mask on anyway because of spray paint.
Right.
I mean, depending on the kind of tools that you use, you'll most likely have a mask on.
Right. Yeah, I just walk out there with my Darth Vader mask and everybody's nice.
Just leave you alone. I know, it's so weird going into like a liquor store with a mask on, It's like, this feels bad. I'm not breaking any laws, but.
Right. I'll just, I think I got a little, I'll just wear that. That'll be fine, right? Yeah. I'll just send photos to Enigma, just like, hey, look, I'm you. He'll appreciate it. I do that from time to time. He gets a kick out of that. Well, that's fun. That's wonderful. Where else can people go to see your works?
Yeah, I'll also be doing a show with Sally Centigrade in July, so that'll also be coming up. And then a follow on Instagram is always nice. And then you can also check out my website at moegram.com.
Cool. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Mo, thanks for coming on and chatting with me. It's great. It's great to have you on and be able to catch up too. So hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yeah, let's not wait so long.
Right.
You've always been a fun person to chat with, and you share my love of being an art nerd. So, like, let's definitely keep in touch and do it again.
Excellent. Maybe next time, well, I'll interview you doing some live painting or something.
Let's play.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so
Cool.
much, Mo.
Yeah. Thank you. See you
Thanks.
later.
I'm Dan Crosier, and this is Talking Palettes. Take it easy, everybody.